Whenever I'm not working, and especially when the sun's out, I like to get into London and just wander the streets, and every street you turn there is a little bit of history there in some way or other. Behind me is St Mary Le Bow, the church rebuilt by Christopher Wren after the Great Fire of London. It was then wiped out again during the Second World War, so rebuilt for the second time. Now it's said that in this church, which you can see the tower just up there, lots of work going on, but it's said that if you're born within the sound of Bow bells, these bells, then you're a true Cockney. God bless you, Lord Love a Duck, know what I mean? Yeah, literally every street corner you turn down there is something different to find. All this site back in the Second World War would have just been obliterated. This was just literally blown to pieces, all the buildings that were here. Fortunately the church survived. And down here I walked around the corner and fancied a coffee, and what I like is at the end of these little alleyways you come across these coffee bars. This is another thing I like about London. Okay, so every corner you turn there's a bit of history. There's also one of these, a pub. Now look at this, it's just like something out of Dickens. It's a lovely old pub, and I literally just walked past this alleyway, and at the end of it was this place. People have been coming here for hundreds of years.
In September 1666, the Great Fire of London started in Pudding Lane. It burnt for 5 days, wiping out most of the city situated within the old Roman city wall. In fact, it destroyed thousands of buildings, including homes, parish churches, and even St Paul's Cathedral as it swept across London. But it was a disaster waiting to happen. Many London homes had projecting upper floors, known as jetties. The houses were narrow at ground level, but jetties allowed owners to increase living space above, but overhung narrow alleys below. This also meant that they were too close to other properties at the top, making them a major fire hazard. Many years before the Great Fire of London, concerned about this, King Charles II forbid future construction of jetties and overhanging windows. But this was ignored, and by 1666, Londoners paid the ultimate price for doing so.
So after the Great Fire of London in 1666, this place, the old Watling Pub House, was built by Christopher Wren in 1668, and he did it to house the workers rebuilding St Paul's Cathedral, which was of course just over there. Now, isn't that nice of him? He built a pub especially for his workers. Can you imagine anyone doing that now? They don't even like you going off on a lunch break. Without doubt, one of the biggest attractions to London has got to be this place behind me, St Paul's Cathedral. Again, rebuilt after the Great Fire of London by Sir Christopher Wren. The original burnt to the ground, and then he came in and basically designed this, built of stone. Like a lot of other buildings in London, after the Great Fire, they decided that they weren't going to build those old wooden shacks that they once lived in, that squalor, and got rid of all the poverty, or a lot of poverty, and then they built some brick ones, which eventually turned into a bit of poverty as well. But that's another story. But yeah, so after the Great Fire of London, Sir Christopher Wren built St Paul's Cathedral, and I have to say it's a truly stunning building, and was a kind of symbol during the Second World War to Londoners when it survived a lot of the bombings. Literally was a kind of phoenix, if you like, amongst the ashes of London, which was smouldering. Behind me is Temple Bar. This used to be one of the gateways to London. I think it was situated quite near the law courts. Now, many years ago, around about 1978, when I was making a spoof Bond film, I actually filmed inside that, but it wasn't here. It was in a place called Theobald's Park, which is near Enfield in North London. And it was dismantled many, many years ago and taken to Theobald's Park because London was growing and traffic was on the increase. So they got rid of it. So we filmed in there, managed to get inside. Those days it was just derelict. And we filmed in these little rooms up here. However, attitudes changed and they realised it needed to come back to its rightful place, London. So they brought it here, in the shadow of St Paul's Cathedral. I'm now walking down Fleet Street as I head towards Trafalgar Square, which is where I'm going to end my journey. Fleet Street, which of course was famous for its association with the British press back in the day. Not so much now, but more coffee bars and anything else. So it was renowned for something that's long before newspapers, and that is cakes.
St Bride's Church is probably one of the oldest in London. In fact, several are believed to have stood on this very site. The Great Fire of London destroyed the church in 1666, but like many other landmark buildings in London, its replacement was designed by Sir Christopher Wren.
Well, St Bride's Church is directly above us, but there's been a church on this site now for over 2,000 years. And if you look carefully just over there, you can see part of a Roman road that still exists.
Its famous spire is said to have given inspiration to the traditional wedding cake when baker's apprentice Thomas Rich wanted to bake a cake with a difference for his bride, so designed his cake based on the St Bride's spire.
Behind me is the site where the Temple Bar originally stood, and as you can see it's quite a busy road, so you can see why they got rid of it to make way for this. Well, I'm nearly at the end of my journey to Trafalgar Square as I walk the streets of London on this really sunny day. But I just wanted to show you the building behind me. This is where Charles Dickens once worked. So here we are at the end of my journey, Trafalgar Square, and it's absolutely buzzing, which is no surprise on such a hot, sunny day. Everywhere you walk, there's just a bit of history waiting there for you to explore. Whether it's a theatre, a pub, not only is this an amazing place for you to see, you've also got the National Gallery, for example. So there's something for everyone in London, and I'm bound to be a bit biased about it, but then being born in Peckham in South London, I'm bound to be. And you know, there is just so much to see, and literally every street corner there is a bit of history. And a lot of pigeons too. Get out of it.